All right, guys. Bruchim habayim. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Be'ezrat Hashem. Tonight we're going to be learning Parashat Vayeshev, which again is loaded with tons of incredible things to talk about. And famously, we're going to speak about some things that are very well known, but some chidushim, hopefully, that you are not aware of. Be'ezrat Hashem. We would like to thank our sponsors for tonight. We're learning tonight Leilui Nishmat David Ben Shemuel. Zichron Livracha, may his neshama go high in Gan Eden. That's Mr. Michael, and we're sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Michael Saidian, sponsoring Leilui Nishmat his father, David Ben Shemuel. May his neshama go high in Gan Eden. Be'ezrat Hashem. Okay, so famously in the parasha, we have the story of Mechirat Yosef. Very tragic, very terrible story of the sale of Yosef, who in the beginning of the parasha it's brought down that he brought all kinds of negative reports about his brothers to his father. He said that they were eating Ever Milachai, an animal, while it was still alive, that they were committing forbidden relations with women, that they were suspected of doing things that are wrong. And he would report everything. And as we know, they were very upset because of that. They were very, they viewed him as a rodef, somebody who was trying to get them killed, because at the time, remember, the halacha is that when a ben Noach, somebody who is not considered to be a Jew, violates one of his Sheva mitzvot b'nei Noach, the halacha is that it's a death penalty. And that's very severe. Can you imagine a death penalty for stealing? Can you imagine a death penalty for not setting up a court system? Right? That's what happened in last week's parasha when Shimon and Levi killed the entire city of Shechem. The Rambam says that they were all supposed to be killed because they had a death penalty due to the fact that they failed to prosecute Shechem ben Chamor for raping Dinah. Had they had a proper court system in effect, which is what the law is, one of the Sheva Mitzvot B'nei Noach is that you have to have a court system. So had they had that, then they would have prosecuted Shechem for what he did. But being that they did not have such a system, so there's lawlessness. That's why Shechem felt that he could do whatever he wanted. And therefore, Shimon and Levi had the right to kill the entire city because they were held responsible for not setting up a court system. That's the pshat that the Rambam says. Now, what we see is that when a person goes ahead and violates one of the Sheva Mitzvot B'nei Noach, it's a death sentence. So over here, they are not yet Jews, technically. They're the Shvatim, they have the Neshamot of Jews, but legally speaking, they don't yet have the rules of Jews. They have the rules of B'nei Noach, which means that if they indeed are eating Ever Minachai, it's a death sentence. If they indeed are committing forbidden acts with women, that's a death sentence, right? It's literally death. So therefore, they said, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's going to give a report to our father about us. That's going to get us the death sentence. So he is a rodef. A rodef is a person who is chasing after somebody else. And the halacha is that when somebody's chasing after somebody else, so then the rule is you have every right to shoot him dead on the spot. You don't need due process. You don't need to take him to court. If somebody is running after someone with a knife and he's trying to kill him, the halacha says that you have every right to shoot the guy to death. Right. But over here, this is an individual he's not even trying to kill me, he's trying to kill that guy. But in order for me to save that person, I'm allowed to shoot him, right? So that is the story. That's why the brothers felt that they were entitled technically to kill Yosef, because they knew that they were aware that they were not guilty of any of the crimes that he was saying. It was saying that they were saying that Yosef rather was saying about them, they were eating an animal while it's still alive. It's not true. They had created it through Sefer Yetzirah, Kabbalistically, or there was a Ben Pekua, which doesn't have that rule, which is an animal that was found inside of an animal that was slaughtered. Yes.
Didn't Yosef knew that if he says something like this, they're gonna be killed, and he said it anyway, meaning he wanted to kill his brothers? You know what I mean? Like,
So there is some criticism over here of Yosef because of the fact that he should have first of all been done the covers. He should have tried to figure out what's going on. Are they really doing this? Are they not doing this? Maybe where's the benefit of the doubt over here? That's number one. And also, there is a problem over here with going and just reporting bad information all the time. So Yosef was in bad standing amongst the brothers. It was an issue. And therefore, the brothers felt legally they have the right to kill him. However, they said that, if you can avoid actually killing him, and instead of killing him directly, do it indirectly, that would be better. So we didn't actually kill him. We simply lowered him to a place where there are snakes and there are scorpions. But we're not actually going ahead and physically killing him. Whatever happens, happens. But it's almost, in other words, not direct. That's what they were trying to accomplish. They're not directly killing him, but indirectly they are. And eventually, as we know, he was sold down to Egypt. So I'm just giving you the background of the story, and then that's the whole story how he got into the situation with being a slave for Potiphar. Potiphar's wife tempted him, and we have the whole story as we know. Now, in the process of his bad reports, he also goes ahead and tells over to his father and to his siblings a dream that he has, two dreams that he has. And I want to just make a little preface with this chidush from the Ben Ish Chai with a statement that sometimes people make prophetic visions. They make prophetic statements. They might not even be aware that their statement is a prophecy, but it is. And I'll give you two examples before I give you this one. The first one comes from Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu is right before he's about to go and take Yitzchak and slaughter him. So he's accompanied by two other people and a donkey. And it says, Shvu lechem po im hachamor, right? It says, V'ani v'ana nilcha ad po. He and I will go over there. V'nishtachaveh, we will bow down. V'nashuva alechem, and we will come back. So what do you mean we will come back? If you know that you're going to slaughter your son, then it's not we will come back, it's I will come back, right? So Rashi says, over here, Abraham had a nevuah that he is going to come back with Yitzchak. Meaning, he made a statement that the statement expressed a prophecy, whether he was even aware of it or not, I don't know. But Rashi says at that moment, he said, we will come back, meaning that it's not just going to be him, it's going to be him and Yitzchak together, even though in his mind, he's actually going to slaughter Yitzchak. That's one such example. Another example, which is pretty cool, is when Moshe Rabbeinu comes to Paro for the first time. And he says to Paro, let the Jews go and worship Hashem in the desert. And they're going to go for 3 days. So Paro says, I've never heard of this. Mi Hashem, Asher Ishma Bekolo. Who is Hashem that I should listen to his voice? Never heard of him. Get lost, right? So we know that it says in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, Rabbi Yehuda haya noten bahem simanim. It says that the 10 plagues, we know, Dam, Tzfardeh, Kirim, all of the 10 plagues are in a list. And then it says right after that, Rabbi Yehuda used to abbreviate them. And instead of saying Dam, Tzfardeh, Kirim, etc., he used to call it Datzach, Adash, and Be'achab. He would say Datzach. Datzach stands for Dam, blood, Tzfardeh, frogs, Kirim, lice. There would say Adash is Arov, wild beast, Dever, pestilence, which means the animal's just dropping dead, and Bet is Shin is Shchin, boils, right? And Be'achav, the last 4. In other words, just small abbreviated ways of saying the 10 plagues. So what's the significance of that? So interestingly enough, the significance, somebody, I forgot who says this beautiful word, he says, Datzach, Adash, and Be'achav, if you do the gematria, you come up with a gematria 501. 501. If you work out each letter, Datzach, Adash, Be'achav is 501. Now, Mi Hashem. What did Paro say? Who is Hashem? Asher, that Eshma Bekolo. I will listen to his voice. Who is he? So he says, what's the gematria of Asher? Asher is Aleph is 1, Shin is 300, Resh is 200, it's 501. So, Mi Hashem, he's saying basically, Paro himself is saying, who is this Hashem? But then there's going to be Asher, then there's going to be Datzach, Adash, and Be'achav, then Eshma Bekolo, I'll listen to what he has to say. Then I'll set them free. So here's Paro actually, disparaging and, speaking down, so to say, God forbid, condescending to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, saying, who is this God that I should listen to his voice? Little does he know, in his own mocking, scoffing statement, he's actually saying, when Hashem sends me the 10 plagues, then I'll eventually send everyone, and I'll let them go free.
Well, maybe he said that, and that's what he brought to himself.
It also could be. I mean, the point is that the statement itself teaches exactly. The statement itself teaches us that this is what's going on. So over here, there's really an amazing point from the Ben Ish Chai. The Ben Ish Chai explains the following: what was Yosef's dream? Yosef had a dream that they were bundling bundles of wheat in the field. He says, he says, my bundle has stood up and was standing strong, standing tall. And then all of your bundles, right? All of your bundles circled my bundle of wheat, and then they all bowed down to my bundle, right? So everyone got very mad. What are you talking about? Are we going to bow down to you? Or are you going to be our king? What's the matter with you? Right? They were very upset at the dream. Says the Ben Ish Chai, this is so beautiful. He says, look at this word. He says, think about it this way. What happened to Yosef? How old was he over here? Right? How old was he when he was sold?
17.
So he was 18. He was 18, right? He was 18 when he was sold. Now, he was sold down as a slave. And it says in the Parashat next week that Yosef ben 30 shana b'tzeto al eretz Mitzrayim, which means Yosef was 30 years old when he became the viceroy of Egypt, second to the king, 30. So how many years was he sold as a slave? It's 12. Very good. He says 12, if you do months, how many months are 12 years? 144 months. Very good. That means that he was in a very bad situation for 144 months. But month number 145, that's when he became the viceroy, right? So look at what he says in the dream. He says, Vehine, Yosef sees in the dream, Vehine kama alumati vegam nitzava. He says, my bundle stood up and it also stood strong. Nice and strong. The word kama means it stood up, right? Kama is kuf, right? That's 100. Mem is 40, and hey is 5. So in other words, Yosef, in his own words, is actually telling you at what point his vision that he's going to become the second to the king is going to happen. You should know 144 months I'm going to be a slave. But at month 145, kama, at that point, that's when I'm going to be in front of all of you. And the process of becoming the king and all of you coming down to Egypt will start happening. And eventually, you guys will bow down to me. Ben Ish Chai. Not me, Ben Ish Chai.
So you sort of knew that you're gonna have.
So that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know the answer if he knew about it or didn't know about it. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes a person can speak words that will happen. They're words of prophecy. He might not be aware that that's what's happening, but that's what he said. So, but that's a beautiful, beautiful chidush from the Ben Ish Chai.
But from 17 to 30, he went to jail. He was a slave. He was Potiphar. He was a king. Meaning he went through everything.
Yes, he did.
He was just a slave for
100%.
12 years, 13 years straight. He did other things. That's what I mean.
Yes, he indeed was. You're 100% right. He went through a lot. But he was telling, little did he, maybe he knew, maybe he didn't know, but the point is that he was actually telling us at what point his whole story would end, and then he'd rise to power. Amazing. Okay. Right. Now,
Very much. Not even joking around.
there's a question that I had for a long time. If you look in the psukim, it's kind of confusing. What exactly happened? How did Yosef get down to Egypt? I'm going to read you the psukim, and you'll see where the confusion comes in. It says like this. So they took him, they captured him, right? They see him coming, they say, oh, let's see what happens to his dreams now. This guy is a wise guy, we're gonna kill him. And Reuven says, no, let's not kill him. Let's put him in the pit. And then Yehuda says, yeah, why should we kill him? What money are we going to gain from killing him? We might as well go ahead and sell him to sell him, because all of a sudden it says, Vehine orchat Ishmaelim ba'a. So there was a caravan of Ishmaelim that was coming. He says, let's sell him to the Ishmael. Let's go sell him to the Ishmaelim. Okay. Now, that's Yehuda. Now, all of a sudden it says, Vaya'avru anashim midyanim socharim. Now there are these Midianite men that are merchants. They were passing by. Okay? Now, that's what it says. There were passing by were men that were Midianite from Midian, socharim. They were merchants. Now, the next words are, Vayimshechu. They pulled him up. They pulled him. Vaya'alu et Yosef min habor. They pulled him up out of the pit. Vayimkeru et Yosef laIshmaelim. They sold Yosef to the Ishmaelim. Okay. So wait a second. There are lots of they and they. Who are they? Is it the brothers who pulled him up? First of all, the brothers pulled him up. Did the Midianim pull him up? And okay, so then it sounds, so who are the Midianim in this? Yehuda said, let's sell him to the Ishmaelim. And all of a sudden there are Midianim here. What are they doing here? Sorry, right? What's that? That's number 2. Then it says, Vayimkeru et Yosef laIshmaelim. They sold Yosef to the Ishmaelim. Now, you look a little bit further, it says, Vehamedanim, the Medanim, which we would assume is another way of saying Midianim, Machru oto el Mitzrayim. They sold Yosef to Egypt. Le Potifar Sris Paro Sarat Habachim. To Potifar, the minister of Paro, the executioner, Sarat Habachim. Not a simple guy to work for, But
it means some of the he take care of the food.
That's also kitchen, right? It could also be a butcher. It could also be a butcher. Maybe that's what it means. Okay, fine. But the point is, I thought that it says they sold him to the Ishmaelim, right? Okay, so what happened over here? What exactly happened?
I don't know so much foot traffic in just this area.
That's a good question. What was the story? Why is there so much going on in this neighborhood? That's a good question. But let's leave that aside for now. Let's just try and understand simple pshat. What happened? What is the story? So of course, you're going to have different opinions in the Mefarshim. Let's start with Rashi. Okay, Rashi tells us the following. Vayavru anashim midyanim socharim. Says vayimshechu. So they pulled him. Who pulled him? Says Rashi, don't get the wrong idea. It's not the Midianim that pulled Yosef out of the pit, but rather Bnei Yaakov. They were the ones who pulled Yosef out of the pit. Bnei Yaakov et Yosef min habor. Vayimkeruhu laIshmaelim. They sold him to the Ishmaelim. Vayishmaelim laMidyanim. Okay, the Ishmaelim sold them then to the Midianim. VehaMidyanim leMitzrayim. and the Midyanim sold him to Egypt. Says Rashi, this teaches you he was sold multiple times. He was sold first to the Ishmaelim, and he was sold to the Midyanim. Then he was sold to Potiphar. So a lot of people had Yosef as property, which is an amazing thing to say. That's how Rashi learns. So it was a sale first to the Ishmaelim. Now, what's the problem with this? The problem with this is, so how come it talks about the Midyanim together with the Ishmaelim? It says, let's go sell him to the Ishmaelim. Okay, fine. Then Midyanim walk by, and it says Vayimshechu, and they pulled him. It sounds like the Midyanim pulled him. It says Rashi, no, it's the sons of Yaakov that pulled him, right? So how do you? So it doesn't exactly match. It doesn't sound so smooth, because if it was a sale from the Ishmaelim to the Midyanim, then it sounds like what we should have seen is the Ishmaelim get him. Then later on, they meet up with a new group of people, sell him to them, and then they sell him to Mitzrayim. But it's like, it doesn't really sound like that. So this is, again, so Rashi says, what's the pshat? Pshat is that the brothers pulled Yosef out of the pit, sold him to the Ishmaelim, Ishmael to the Midyanim, Midyanim to Egypt. Fine. The Rashbam says a little bit differently. No. The Rashbam, Rashi's grandson, wants to say a different pshat. He says the brothers put Yosef in the pit. The Midyanim walked by, saw him. The Midyanim took him out, not like his grandfather Rashi, who says the brothers took him out. And the Midyanim sold him to the Ishmaelim. Okay? So the brothers put him in the pit, they leave. Whatever happens, happens. Midyanim walk by, pull him out, sell him to the Ishmaelim. The brothers didn't actually sell him. Now, the problem with this is that much later, when Yosef sees the brothers, he says to them, Ani Yosef, I'm Yosef, asher machartem oti. You sold me, right? According to the Rashbam, it's a little bit of a problem. The Rashbam asks this question on himself. He says, what does it mean you sold me? Because it's not you, it was because according to him, they put him in the pit and walked away. They walked away. And then the Midyanim pulled him out, and then they sold him.
So they wouldn't even know about this.
They wouldn't even know about it, right? So Rashbam says, well, maybe they were aware. It's a kind of a tough, but what he gains is the fact that the pasuk sounds normal now. Because what did the pasuk say? It says, Vayavru anashim midyanim socharim. It says Midyanim, who were merchants, were passing by. And it says, Vayalu et Yosef minabor, and they lifted him out of the pit. So you don't have to now all of a sudden say it was the sons of Yaakov who lifted him out of the pit. It was them themselves who lifted him out of the pit. And they sold him to the Ishmaelim. So it sounds like a normal pasuk. The only thing is, in that case, well, the Bnei Yaakov, they had nothing to do with it. Right?
Did they think they were Rashi said making more sense.
What?
Whatever Rashi said,
yeah,
making more sense.
Why? Okay, why?
Because first what they said, let here in Parashat, they said, let sell him, all the brothers.
Right.
And then we have other proofs with the money that they got.
Yeah,
they buy
shoes. Yes. Yes, correct. That's a midrash.
So
correct.
Whatever Rashi
You're
said,
right. It adds up based on the midrash. The only thing is, like we said, there are problems with Rashi too. That who was it? The Midyanim, the Bnei Yaakov, the Ishmael. It's like a big mishmash. Yes.
Did the brothers think that Yosef is dead?
So
at any point.
So according to what we're learning now, most likely they thought he was at this point. They just left him. They figured probably he's gonna die.
But is there any statement that says that they thought he's dead?
Well, no, they didn't have any proof. As a matter of fact, they needed to take his they needed to take off his coat and say that he was eaten by an animal and slaughter an animal and dip it in the blood. Yeah, it's a little bit of they weren't, I don't know. According to what we're learning now, I don't know if they knew or not. Now, in this Rashbam, it comes along the Orach Chaim HaKadosh with his own interpretation. Okay? The Orach Chaim HaKadosh comes along and says something very interesting. He says, you know what we're talking about over here? We're talking about people, the Ishmaelim, were people with funds. They were people that were able to, they had capital, as we would say. They had the ability to invest and to buy and to sell. Problem is, they were ignorant. They didn't know what to buy, what to sell, what's worth it, what's not worth it.
How come they're so
What?
rich?
They had, for whatever the reason was, they had the money. They had the money. Says the Or Chaim HaKadosh, this is what's going on. These people had plenty of money, okay? But they were not familiar with the market. They were not familiar with what sells, what doesn't sell, what's worth investing in, what's not worth investing in. So you get somebody that you're going to bring to your company that he's going to be like a buyer for you. He's going to buy the item that's hot in the market, and that way you'll be able to sell it. He's going to do the legwork for you, and he's going to get a cut of whatever you make. Exactly. He's going to get a cut of whatever you make, but you're the boss, right? That's says the Or Chaim HaKadosh. This is what was going on over here. The Ishmaelim were together with the Midyanim. The Ishmaelim had the funds, they had the money. They were the ones that were able to invest and put and buy and sell, etc. They were the ones that got the money. The Midyanim that they brought to tag along were the people that were able to go ahead, to go ahead. I'm telling you, it's not my own shot. This is the Or Chaim HaKadosh, Rabbi Chaim Ben Atar, Zecher Tzadikim V'Kadosh Livracha. He says they would be there to go ahead and to see, oh yes, this is a good deal for you. This is not a good deal for you. Invest in this, don't invest in that, etc. So therefore, he says, now it all works out. He says, when it says that the Ishmaelim were walking by, and all of a sudden the Midyanim took him out, you could say it doesn't really make a difference who took him out. The point is that they were traveling together. When it says that the Midyanim sold him in Egypt, what does it mean they sold him in Egypt? It means that the Ishmaelim owned him. They traveled all of them down to Egypt together, but the Midyanim saw a good deal and said, yes, if you sell him to Potiphar, that's good money for you. It's going to be a good deal. So the Midyanim effectively are the ones who are selling him, but the Ishmaelim were the ones who owned him. Exactly. That was the structure of this deal.
So the grandson
says the Or Chaim HaKadosh. What?
The Rashbam doesn't make sense at all. Only Rashi and this make
no, the Rashbam is, what he gains is that the pasuk that we read sounds normal. You don't have to reinterpret the simple understanding of it. Because the pasuk, again, I'll read you the pasuk. The pasuk says like this: Vaya'avru anashim midyanim socharim. Midyanim that were merchants passed by. Vayimshechu, they pulled, vaya'alu, they raised up at Yosef min habor, from the pit. Vayimkeru et Yosef, they sold Yosef to the Ishmaelim. So literally it sounds like the Midyanim did everything. They pulled him. Rashi has to reinterpret and say, no. It wasn't, they didn't pull him out. It was the Bnei Yaakov, the sons of Yaakov pulled him out. And then they sold him to the Midyanim, and the Midyanim sold him to the Ishmael. I'm sorry, the opposite. Then it says, Rashi says, they sold him to the Ishmaelim, and then the Ishmaelim sold him to the Midyanim, because why does he have to say that? Because at the end of the day, it says that the Midyanim sold him to Egypt.
Okay.
But meanwhile, the Midyanim were already here.
So what were they doing?
So it's a funny thing according to to Rashi. So what he's saying is, I don't need this headache. Let's just say like this. We'll say that the Anashim Midyanim, that the Midyanim went, they pulled him out, they sold him to the Ishmaelim.
Then they bought it back? Does he say that?
And then, you're right. There's a little bit of an issue also. I hear what you're saying. Okay, fine. Very good. So that's what happened with him. Now, Yosef is in the situation with Eshet Potiphar in this week's Parashat. Last year we spoke about a beautiful explanation as to how he was able to survive this whole ordeal. Hashem, we could review that at a different time. This year, Lina and I want to talk about another explanation. How was Yosef able to survive this whole situation with Potiphar's wife? So again, we know that she was tempting him every day. The Midrash says that she changed her outfit twice a day, every day. So if this outfit won't do it, maybe this outfit will do it. She was every single day trying to tempt him, and he wouldn't fall for it. He always said, Hashem is going to help me. It says that he always had Hashem in his mouth. Hashem does this, Hashem does that. Everything always HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he would be strong. Now, eventually we all know there was a day she pretended to be sick. Everyone went for the holiday to the Avodah Zarah to worship the idol, and she stayed home. That's when she found the moment of opportunity. She grabbed him and she said, lie with me. And he said, no. And he ran out and he left his shirt with her. And that was her proof that she was attacked by Yosef. And when I screamed, he ran away. And that's how she claimed against him to her husband. Now, the Midrash tells us something really interesting. The Midrash tells us that the truth is that she did a lot more than that. It says she was very sad after the thing didn't work out. She was very sad. It's funny because it says that she had somewhat good intentions. It says she saw in the stars that eventually they're going to have children together, that she and Yosef are going to have offspring from one another. So she thought it was from herself. We're going to learn that it's actually from her quote-unquote daughter.
So she was a mother-in-law.
What?
She was a mother-in-law.
Look at this, exactly. Look at this. So it says, listen to this.
You know what's her name?
Listen, 1 second. We'll see. So it says she was very, very sad. So her friends went to visit her. The Midrash tells us the following. Why is your face like that? Why do you look so down? She told them everything. She divulged all the details. There's nothing for you to do except the following. Tell your husband that he tried to do this with you, and that way he'll put him in jail. Well, okay, but I need you to be an accomplice to my plan. Please. Tell your husbands that he also came after you. So she wanted them to go and tell their husbands that Yosef was also, trying to tempt them. And they did that. Everybody, all of the ministers came to Potiphar's house. They told him, our wives all said he's trying to seduce them. So he wanted to kill them. He wanted to kill Yosef. Don't destroy your own property. Just put him. He was a slave. He was property.
Who said that?
His minister friends. Just put him in jail. He still wanted to kill Yosef. Ad Shabbat, until who came to save the day? Osnat, really rather she read it Asnat, right? Asnat, the daughter of Potiphar. Now, who is this woman? Before I explain what she did, let's talk about who is this woman. We're going to read in next week's Parashat that Asnat was, it says that when Yosef became the second to the king, it says that Paro gave this woman, Asnat, the daughter of Potiphera, the Kohen of On, which means the priest of this Avodah Zarah, he gave her to Yosef as a wife. Now you have her as a wife. Who is this girl? So it says an amazing midrash. The Chizkuni brings down an incredible story over there on that parasha, and many bring down this midrash. It says that this girl was the daughter of Dinah, and her father was Shechem ben Hamor. When Shechem raped Dinah, this was the child that was born as a product of rape. Now, what happened was they were so afraid, the brothers and the family were so afraid that people would think that in the house of Yaakov, in his family, promiscuity is acceptable, And people just have kids like that out of wedlock. And this kind of behavior is okay. That they prayed that the Malach Gabriel, or some say Michael, should come and take this child away somewhere else. Just to get rid of it.
Before it's born?
No, after it was born.
Yaakov
That's what,
said,
wait a second. So just to get rid of it and land it somewhere to take care of it. Yaakov wrote on a piece of gold that this girl belongs to the family of Yaakov, and she's a granddaughter of Yaakov, and whoever gets to marry this girl is marrying into the family of Yaakov Avinu. That's what he wrote on this piece of gold, and she wore it, he put it around her like as a necklace. The Malach came and took her to the house of Potiphar in Egypt. That's what happened. He literally took her to there. This is what the Midrash is telling us. The Chizkuni says that. Now, why Potiphar? Potiphar was a saris. He was a saris. He was somebody who was unable to have children. And she, the wife of Potiphar, was an akara. She wasn't able to have children either. They had no kids. So, and by the way, as well, some say, the Gemara tells us in Masechet Sotah, that Potiphar wanted Yosef for relations. He wanted to have, he wanted to have relations with Yosef. That's what it says. So
Potiphar wanted Eli's wife.
Yeah, exactly. Hashem Yishmor, right? Hashem Yishmor. So this girl is now in Egypt, and they see her. They see that they see what's written there. They see that she comes from a royal family, Yaakov. They say, we'll take her. And they raise her like their daughter. Now, many years later, when Yosef is 30 years old, Yosef goes out to all of Egypt. Yosef went out as the viceroy over all of Egypt. And it says that all the women came to see him. He was very handsome. He was very beautiful. That's why it says, Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat Aleim, Banot Saada Alei Shur, which means that the women were coming on top of the walls to see Yosef. And as he was going by, everybody was throwing something at him. Some would throw some kind of like candy or some beautiful jewelry, different things. And all of a sudden he sees that somebody throws something at him. It's got writing in Hebrew. And it says on it that which is exactly what Yaakov Avinu wrote for her. She threw it. She didn't have anything to throw. She threw this on Yosef. Wow. And it says there, I am the granddaughter of Yaakov Avinu. He says, where did this come from? And that's how he found who she was. Okay? That's how he found her. And that's how he married her. So in Egypt, he had the ability to get married to a Jewish person, the daughter of Dinah. So really it was his niece. Now, what gave her the zechut to be able to marry Yosef? So it says when Potiphar's wife concocted this whole plan, and all of these ladies are telling their husbands that Yosef is doing, she heard the whole thing. Because she was the daughter of Potiphar, meaning she was living there like their daughter. Okay? So she heard the whole thing. So she went out on a limb, betraying her adopted mother and saying to Potiphar, listen, the whole thing's a lie. He never did that to her.
That's why he went and hired a guy to come and check if it was his semen or not.
Yeah, we spoke about that last year, right? Very good, right? We spoke about that last year, correct? So wait a second. So says the Midrash. Amar la Kadosh Baruch Hu. Listen to this Midrash. Ho'il shehitzalt et Yosef, since you saved Yosef, chayayich she'ashvatim she'ani ma'amid mimenu. I'm swearing to you, Hashem says, the shvatim, the two tribes that are supposed to come from Yosef, the Hainu Shivtei Ephraim and Menashe, the tribes of Ephraim and Menashe, al yadechem ba'im. They will come to the world through you. Why? Because since you went out on a limb to save Yosef from being killed, so you, midah kineged midah, will be the partner with Yosef to have the children with him that will be the Shvatim. So yes, indeed, it turns out to be something very interesting. So now this works out very interesting because Yosef, if Yosef would have children from somebody else, it's very likely that Potiphar would be very upset and would come after him. But now that Yosef is married to Potiphar's own daughter, and he has children with her, so now he's kind of like protected from Potiphar and from Potiphar's wife. They're not going to hurt their own grandchildren, so they're not going to hurt their own family. At least outwardly, everybody thinks that this is their daughter and grandchildren, and it's an amazing situation over here, right? Yeah. So that's how she got to Egypt, and that's how she got to be a mother of two tribes, because of the fact that she was actually somebody who saved Yosef. Okay, very good.
So
yeah, we have a question.
No, you see what happened? She comes and she tells her dad, hey, this is her whole life. So he gets suspicious. So last year,
we spoke about this idea.
So then,
go ahead. The Kohanim, the priests of that Potiphar was friendly with, had actually told him, look, there's a way to check. See, what happened was she had thrown an egg white over there, and it made it seem like it was his zera, right? So there's a way to check to see if it's zera or not. If you put a fire next to it, see what happens. If it melts in, it sinks in, it means it's the zera. But rather, if it like sort of runs away from the fire, that means that it's eggs, right? So therefore, that check was done. So what Mr. Yaakov is saying is that now we have a reason to believe why Potiphar would want to do such a checking in the first place, because he had a tip from his daughter Asnat that this was phony baloney, right? It's very very nice point. Okay, very good. All right, gentlemen, I think we can stop over here for tonight. Chazakim Bruchim. If we have any other questions, of course, we're good. We're good? Okay, we'll stop over here, guys. Thanks for joining us on Zoom. That's only good news.